So then, just when the Taiki and Chanatsu love train was gaining some momentum, this chapter happens and makes it feel like their relationship is moving backwards instead of growing. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Daily, and thank you for joining me as we talk about chapter 29 of the Blue Box manga series. Now then, this chapter was really something else, as Chanatsu makes the almost too sensible decision to draw a line between herself and Taiki's friendship. Now then, this was the main topic of focus within this chapter, so it's where I want to start the discussions within this review too. Now personally, I hate seeing this relationship between the two of them regress, but looking at the information presented within this chapter, plus using a bit of logic into the mix as well, it does make some form of sense. To start with, I want to look at the flashback segment of Chanatsu's father, as he seemed a bit against the idea. Now I say this for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, why would Chanatsu's mother need to have pre-warned her husband about this event? Logic would dictate that this is because her mother knew that it could spark an argument or present some sadness from her father and wanted to give him a fair bit of notice before Chanatsu brought it up herself. And reason number two, Chanatsu's father, when he said, "Is that so?" his expression looks sad/worried. Thus leading me to think that he needed that pre-warning. However, despite being warned ahead of time, he still was shocked by the request from his daughter. Now, of course, the idea of a parent being sad or upset or worried about them moving to a different country with their daughter staying behind obviously makes logical sense. If you're a parent, you're going to be worried about your child's safety, especially if they're across seas from you. But I did like the fact that we only got to see a slight expression from the father and not his full face. Now then, the reason as to why I think Chanatsu's father might play a big role in her decision to draw a line between herself and Taiki is simply because of another line/misunderstanding. Chanatsu mentions that she'd never been able to tell what her father's thinking, but then continues to guess what her father thinks about her staying behind, stating that in her mind she interpreted her father's words of him saying, "Is that so?" in meaning that you decided this for yourself, so don't mess it up. Now then, that line could actually create boundaries in your mind when thinking about it, or it could even spark fear. Of course, saying that though, we don't know the relationship between Chanatsu and her father, but if she's worried about letting him down after interpreting his words like she did, then that is where the fear would arise from. Now, one thing that can certainly cause an issue, which would result in her messing things up, would be dating Taiki. After all, if something goes wrong during the time of them dating, and they have a fight, an argument, and they break up, then this is going to cause some awkward tension, and may even result in Chanatsu needing to leave the household, thus being homeless and messing up her chance of going to nationals, or having somewhere to stay, because she'll have to go and live with her parents, which are across seas. So I do feel like there is still some mystery left to find out between the relationship of Chanatsu and her father, and learn a bit more about him as well. I did like the fact that we got to learn a bit more about the parents, which I'm going to get to in just a second. So then, keeping with Chanatsu's character from this chapter, I loved that conversation in where both herself and Taiki were comparing each other to their respective family members. This was a bit of harmless fun, but it does also give us a few pieces of dialogue that might hint at Chanatsu being more like her mother than her father. After all, Taiki only mentions that she thinks that Chanatsu takes after her father simply because he can't understand or ever read Chanatsu's mind. But Taiki isn't very adverse when it comes to understanding the mind of a female or the feelings of romance and love yet. So that might be where the boundaries for Taiki kind of comes into play, and we might actually have more evidence to state that Chanatsu is a bit spacey, like her mother. I say that because A, Chanasu spaces out while walking against the road, which almost results in her being isekai'd, thanks to Truck-kun. And B, Chanasu spaces out yet again, possibly, once back at the family barbecue event, as Taiki mentions that she burnt her marshmallows. Are we lost in thought there, Chanasu? I wonder what you're thinking about. But overall, I thought Chanasu's character was rather realistic and logical within this chapter, as it's clear she doesn't want to make these boundaries that she's setting for herself and Taiki's friendship. But at the same time, she doesn't want to cause anything that's going to cause her any tension or issues in her dream of going to nationals. Now, of course, like I said earlier, there might be something deeper at play here that's giving us a bit of mystery lingering within the air of this series that we're going to have to uncover and find out moving forward. And that does excite me. Plus, seeing Chanasu acting a little bit childish, wanting to eat the ice cream before eating her main course, I thought that was rather cute. So then, let's look at Taiki's character, as he's been a confused mess ever since having his fever and of course the falling on bed scene. But it turns out that these events have made him more and more confused, as now he doesn't know what is considered getting too close, or crossing that line that Chanasu has implemented. Instead now though, because he doesn't know, he tries to avoid her entirely. I can't really blame him for doing so, because the poor guy just kinda had his heart broken by the whole conversation on the way home. Admittedly, Taiki's actions building up to these events haven't been great. Some might call him confusing or unsure of himself, and they wouldn't really be wrong in that regard. I think deep down Taiki knows that his actions and behaviour over the last few chapters have been kind of pathetic, but he himself is struggling to understand the situation or know what to do. But fear not, Taiki, because soon you might get some help from Love Doctor Haru. Yeah, he might help you upon your request to search and obtain the forbidden fruit. You know who I mean. We know that badminton practices are still going on, so we're going to get some Haru and Taiki interactions later on, even throughout summer break. And Haru seemed to be quite knowledgeable in the ways of love, based on the swimming pool sort of interaction, so it's kind of possible. Now then, let's move away from both Taiki and Chanasu's characters, as there's another character who received a piece of good news. But with that news comes a crossroads. Does Hina capitalize on this discourse between Taiki and Chanasu and try her luck to win Taiki's heart once and for all? Or does she remain a good and loyal friend and help guide the two back together? This is a choice that she has to make. Two big choices that ultimately could help shape Hina's character moving forward. This excites me because I like Hina and I think she's great, and I want to see her try and be happy in the future. It would be easier for her to try and pursue Taiki now, then help him return to Chanasu once she tried winning his heart over and ultimately failed, instead of her sort of helping now and then trying to seduce him later. I feel like if she took that route, then she would come across as a little bit of a snake. Nevertheless though, I do feel like we're going to get some more focus on Hina moving forward. Obviously, we've got to learn more about Chanasu and her relationships with her family and other people. Plus, obviously, Taiki's just going to be in the middle, just trying to figure everything out, because he's a little bit slow on the uptake. Now, this next point I want to talk about slightly relates to the chapter, but in a way, it felt like it could end off a season of an anime if this series ever got an anime adaptation. The reason why I say that is because the ending of this chapter with the dialogue really does give off that end of arc vibe. And I think if they were to make a season 1 of Blue Box anime form, I think this would be the perfect place to leave us on a juicy cliffhanger. Either way though, this series will deliver on something special moving forward, as summer break's always a fun occasion in any sort of type of media. Plus, this series is just amazing. I can't say that enough. The artwork was awesome as always, and overall I like this chapter. It wasn't the best chapter of Blue Box that we've ever had, but it still was one of those chapters that you can read again easily and still find enjoyment. So overall, I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have, hit like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And of course, I'll be seeing you more with more Blue Box content later. Have a great day. Alligator, Madane. Goodbye.